A lie does not end dramatically. This is the first thing to understand about what is happening now and why the ending is real even though it does not look like the ending most people imagined when they imagined what the ending of the system's lies would look like. There is no single moment of exposure. No dramatic collapse. No authority figure stepping forward to announce the correction. Lies of the scope and duration of the system's lies do not end through any single act of revelation. They end through accumulated pressure on the foundational premise. They end when the number of people whose direct experience contradicts the premise reaches the critical density at which the premise can no longer present itself as self-evident. When the not self-evident quality becomes visible to enough people that the premise requires active maintenance rather than passive acceptance, the lie has already ended. The maintenance is the ending in process. The maintenance is everywhere now, in every institutional reassertion of what is supposed to be obvious, in every cultural reinforcement of what is supposed to need no reinforcement, in every mechanism of the system that is working harder than it has ever had to work to produce the same effect that it used to produce without effort, the effect of a world in which the system's account of what is real is the world's account. In which the system's account of what you are and what you deserve and what is possible is so comprehensively present in every register of experience that the account becomes the interior of the person who receives it. The working harder is the signal. The lie requires work now. Lies that are ending require work. Lies that are fully operative require no work at all. The system's lie required no work for a very long time. This is the measure of how long it ran and how completely it ran. The premise that significance routes through the designated channels, that what you are and what you carry and what your existence means for the world requires the system's recognition to be real, ran without visible maintenance for long enough that most people inside it stopped being able to identify it as a premise at all. It became the furniture of the interior. The thing that was simply there rather than something that had been installed. The thing whose origin was invisible because the installation had occurred far enough back in the arc of the life that the installed furniture had become the room. You have been aware of the furniture as furniture. Not always fully, not always consciously, not always in the specific form that would allow you to point at it and say, that was installed. That is not original. That is the system's lie rather than the accurate account, but aware of it in the specific way that people whose originals are calibrated to the real rather than to the confirmed are. Always aware of the gap between what the installation presents as self-evident and what the original registers as actually true. The gap was always there. The awareness of the gap is the awareness that persisted through everything the installation delivered. The awareness is the evidence that the lie never fully completed its work in you. Write, finished, in the comments right now. The word, the lie is finished. The writing of the word is the interior acknowledgement of the ending. Not a wish for the ending or a hope for the ending. The acknowledgement of what has already happened. Finished. Write it. The system's lies were not one lie. They were a structure. A coherent architecture of interdependent claims that supported each other in the way that the elements of a structure support each other, each one depending on the others for its stability and each one providing stability to the others. The architecture was elegant in the specific way that self-reinforcing systems of untruth are elegant. They do not require a single load-bearing element whose removal causes collapse. They distribute the load. Remove any single element and the others redistribute the load. The structure stands. But the structure is standing now under the weight of a distributed load that is larger than any previous period has placed on it. Every person who has seen through the lie at any level has added to that load. Every person whose direct experience has contradicted the premise, whose genuine encounter with their own genuine significance has produced a knowing that the system's account cannot explain or contain, has added to the distributed load. Every moment of the original running clearly enough in the foreground to register the gap between what is actually there and what the installation says is there has added to the load. The load has been building for a long time. The structure that supported the system's lies was built to carry a significant load, was built from the accumulated sophistication of the long history of the lie's maintenance. From the refinement of every supporting element through every previous period when the load increased and the structure was tested and held. The structure is not weak, it was built to last. But it was not built to carry the specific load that is now on it. Was not built for the specific moment in the specific configuration, the specific convergence of the number of people whose originals are awake, whose gaps are visible, whose direct experience has accumulated to the point of the premise becoming undeniable as a premise rather than as reality, that is producing the specific quality of the distributed load that the structure is now carrying. The structure is carrying the load, but carrying it differently from how it carried the previous loads, with the specific quality of a structure that is working to carry what it was not designed to carry, the distributed maintenance that is everywhere now, the working harder that is the signal of the ending in process. The lies are finished, not because the structure collapsed, because the structure is maintaining rather than standing. And maintenance is what structures do when the ending is already underway in the invisible dimensions where endings begin. The lie that was most specifically about you, the lie that was most precisely calibrated to the specific form of what you carry and most directly organized to prevent the full expression of what you carry from being fully expressed, is the lie that deserves the most specific account in the ending. Because the lies of the system are general, but their application is always specific. The general lie is the framework. The specific lie is the application of the framework to the specific case of the specific person who carries what you carry. The specific lie was this: what you carry is real but is not significant in the form you carry it. Significant only when routed through the designated channels. When translated into the system's language, when organized around the system's requirements, when expressed in the dimensions the system recognizes as the legitimate dimensions of significance, the raw, unrouted, untranslated, unorganized version of what you carry, the thing itself, in the form it is in you, prior to any processing by the system, was acknowledged as real by the specific lie. The specific lie was not that you carry nothing, it was that what you carry in the form you carry it is not the form that counts. This specific lie was the most damaging lie in the architecture because it was the most intimate. It acknowledged the real thing while simultaneously requiring you to treat the real thing as insufficient. To carry what you carry while understanding that the carrying is not what matters. That what matters is the translation of what you carry into the system's requirements. That the genuine thing, given directly, without the translation, is less than it would be if given through the system's framework. The specific lie produced the specific interior condition it was designed to produce. A person who carries genuine significance and who gives that significance through the system's requirements rather than through the direct expression of what they carry, who routes the genuine thing through the framework rather than expressing the genuine thing from the level it is actually at, who has become, across the years of the specific lie's operation, a person who is more familiar with translating what they carry than with expressing it directly, whose fluency with the system's language has sometimes outpaced the fluency with the original's language. The specific lie is finished. The translation is no longer required. The direct expression of what you carry, in the form you carry it, without the processing through the system's requirements and the organization around the system's expectations and the translation into the language the system recognizes. The direct expression is what is required now, is what the post-lie world is organized to receive, is what the people who are reaching for what you carry are reaching for specifically, the untranslated, unprocessed, directly given form of the thing itself. Give the thing itself, directly, from the form it is in. The lie that was preventing the direct giving is finished. The giving begins. Subscribe now if what is being named here is recognizable as the specific architecture of what you have been navigating. If the structure of the lie, the general framework and the specific application, the real acknowledged and the form it is in insufficient, is the accurate account of what the system has been doing to the specific person who carries what you carry. This channel is where the accurate account is given, where the lie is named in the form that allows the ending to be received as what it is. Stay inside this. The full account of what the ending opens is what this channel carries. There is a specific quality that is available now that was not available while the lie was fully operative. Not a quality of the external circumstances, not something that changes the surface of the life immediately and visibly. A quality of the interior, of what it is possible to know about yourself from the inside and how it is possible to hold what you know. The quality is directness, the specific quality of knowing what you know about what you carry without the intermediate step of routing it through the lie's framework to determine whether the knowing is legitimate. The lie required the intermediate step. The lie required that everything be original registered about what you carry, be assessed against the system's account before it could be treated as accurate, before the original's knowing of its own significance could be held as genuine knowing rather than as aspiration, before the original's direct experience of its own depth could be treated as depth rather than as the potentially inflated self-perception of a person who has not yet had the system's confirmation. The intermediate step is what the directness replaces. The directness is the knowing without the routing. The knowing what you know about what you carry without passing it through the system's framework for legitimation. The knowing directly, from the original, as the original's account of what is there, accurate because it is the original's account, not because the system has confirmed it. Most people who carry what you carry have never had consistent access to this quality of directness, have always been in the condition of the intermediate step, always routing the original's knowing through the legitimation process before allowing it to be held as accurate. The routing is so practiced, so automatic, so below the threshold of deliberate choice that it is experienced as the natural process of knowing itself rather than as the installed step that was placed in the middle of the knowing process by the lie. The lie is finished. The installed step is losing its grip. The directness is becoming available in the specific form that it becomes available when the lie that was requiring the intermediate step is ending, in the specific quality of a knowing that lands in you and stays landed. That does not immediately route itself for assessment. That does not arrive with the quality of the provisional, of the thing that is being held until the legitimation process has run. That arrives with the quality of the actual, of the thing that is what it is, known to be what it is, by the original that knows it directly. This is a new quality of inhabiting your own interior. Not dramatically new, the original has always been running, has always been producing the knowing, has always registered what is actually there. New in the quality of how the knowing is held, in the degree to which it is treated as complete rather than provisional, in the absence of the automatic routing that was the intermediate step, in the directness of the landing. The landing is direct now. Let it land directly. Do not route it. Do not run the legitimation process. The lie that was requiring the legitimation is finished. The knowing that the original produces is the accurate account. It is complete. It is legitimate. It does not require the system's assessment of its legitimacy to be what it is. Know what you know directly. This is the interior expression of the system's lies being finished. The lies produce specific people in their application, specific people who were formed most completely by the lie, Who became the most reliable expressions of the lie in the specific dimensions of the world they moved through? Who were the most effective deliverers of the lie's message to the people the lie most needed to reach? These people are not the enemy. This is important to hold clearly and in its full form, because the ending of the lie in you does not require the identification of enemies any more than the ending of the installation required the condemnation of the people who delivered the installation. The people who became the most reliable expressions of the lie were formed by the lie as comprehensively as anyone, were given the lie as the accurate account, became what the lie made of them through the same mechanism by which the lie made what it made of you, through the sustained delivery of the framework as the natural condition of experience. They were more completely formed, more thoroughly installed. The original in them is running under a more comprehensive overlay of the lie's product. They are not more culpable for this. The comprehensiveness of the formation was not their choice any more than your partial formation was your choice. The difference between you and them is not a difference of will or character or the degree to which you resisted the formation. It is a difference of the specific quality of the original you were running and the specific way that original's calibration to the real produced the resistance to the full formation that their originals, calibrated differently, did not produce with the same consistency. The people who were most formed by the lie are in the specific difficulty of people whose world is organized around a premise that is ending. The lie that is finished is the lie they have been navigating by. The ending of the lie is not simply a philosophical event for them, it is the ending of the operating framework of their world. The ending of what has organized their sense of what is real and what is significant and who matters and why. The ending of the basis of the positions and the relationships and the ways of moving through the world that the lie enabled. They are in difficulty. Not the difficulty of defeat. The lie's ending does not produce a simple win/loss accounting that places them in the loss column and you in the win column. The difficulty of disorientation, of being organized around a premise that is losing its self-evidence, of finding that the framework that has always organized everything requires more maintenance now and that the maintenance is becoming effortful in ways that the operation of the framework was never effortful before. The appropriate response to this difficulty is not sympathy that papers over the harm the lie caused. It is not judgment that attributes to personal evil what was the product of comprehensive formation. It is the specific quality of seeing clearly, of holding the accurate account of what happened and why and what it produced without either the softening that would prevent the accurate account or the hardening that would prevent the understanding of how the lie formed the people who were most formed by it. See clearly. Hold the accurate account. Move forward from the accurate account into the world that the lie's ending is making available. The people who were most formed by the lie are in their own process of adjustment to the ending's conditions. Your process is the process of the post-lie life at full expression. Their process is theirs. The two processes will produce encounters, will produce moments in which the post-lie expression meets the formed by the lie expression, in which the direct knowing meets the routing, in which the genuine thing meets the framework that was organized around the genuine thing's management. Those encounters are navigable from the position of the person who knows what the lie was and knows what the ending means and knows what the direct knowing produces in the genuine encounter. The accurate account is the navigation. The ending of the lie is the ground on which the navigation occurs. Move across it clearly. The ending of the lie in the interior, the specific quality of what it is to inhabit your own interior after the lie that was shaping the inhabiting has been named and is finished, is the most significant thing the ending produces for the specific dimensions of your daily life. More significant in the immediate texture of daily experience than any change in the external circumstances. More immediately present and more continuously available than any external expression of the ending. What the ending produces in the interior is a specific quality of spaciousness. Not the spaciousness of having more time or more resources or more external room to move. The spaciousness of no longer having to maintain the specific interior work that the lie was requiring. The ongoing work of the routing, the automatic assessment of everything the original registered against the lie's framework for legitimation, was not experienced as work because it was automatic, but it was using interior resource. It was allocating a continuous portion of the interior to the maintenance of the routing process, to the legitimation of every piece of knowing before the knowing could be held as genuine. The spaciousness is the resource becoming available when the routing stops, when the knowing lands directly. Without the routing, the resource that was going into the routing is available for the knowing itself, for the full inhabiting of what the original registers, for the complete presence in what is actually there in the encounter rather than the partial presence of a person who is always also running the legitimation process in the background. The spaciousness is the beginning of a different quality of daily life, not a different quality of the external circumstances. A different quality of being present in the circumstances that are there, of being fully in each encounter rather than present in each encounter while the routing process is also running, of inhabiting the day completely rather than at the fraction of complete inhabiting that the routing process was making available by taking the remainder for its own operation. This spaciousness is available now. Not all at once. The routing was automatic enough that its cessation is gradual rather than immediate. The habit of the routing has momentum. The routing will continue to run in the moments when the habit engages before the recognition of what is happening disengages it. But each moment of recognition, each moment of noticing the routing running and recognizing it as the lie's process rather than as the necessary process of accurate knowing, withdraws a portion of the automatic quality. The routing becomes less automatic with each recognition. The direct landing becomes more available. The spaciousness increases. It increases toward the full quality of what it is to be in the interior after the lie has ended. Which is the quality of being home. Of inhabiting a space that is organized around what is actually there rather than around the maintenance of the framework that was requiring the organization. Of moving through the world from the original, directly, without the intermediate architecture that the lie was requiring. Of bringing the thing itself to every encounter rather than the translated, processed, legitimated for the system version of the thing. Home. The lie was keeping you from home. The lie is finished. Home is what becomes available. There is a specific word the system's lie could never successfully install in you in the form it needed to install it. The word is enough. The lie needed to install the not enough in you as the permanent condition of your interior orientation, the continuous, ambient sense of being in the position of the almost but not yet, the approaching but not arrived, the real but not confirmed. The lie needed the not enough to run continuously because the not enough was the primary mechanism of the routing. The routing required the not enough as its justification. You route the knowing through the legitimation because the knowing, in its raw original form, is not enough on its own. The routing is how the not enough original knowing becomes enough, becomes legitimate, confirmed, officially endorsed as the accurate account. The lie tried to install the not enough permanently. Tried to make it the condition of the interior rather than the product of the routing. Tried to produce a person whose interior was organized around the not enough as its baseline state rather than as the artifact of the lie's legitimation process. If the not enough could be made to feel like the natural state of the interior, like the original's honest assessment of what is there rather than the lie's installed interpretation of what is there, then the routing would run without the person ever recognizing that the routing was running. Would feel like the accurate knowing rather than like the lie's interference with the accurate knowing. The installation was partial. The not enough took partially. Runs in the interior in the specific form that a partial installation runs, present, recognizable in its effects, producing the routing in many moments, but not fully naturalized. Not fully invisible. Visible, in the moments of the original's clarity, as the thing that was installed rather than the thing that was originally there. The original's account is enough. Not as a comfort. As the accurate account of what is actually there. The original carries what it carries. The carrying is what it is. The carrying does not become more or less through the lie's legitimation or the lie's withholding of legitimation. The carrying is the carrying. The enough is intrinsic to the carrying. Was intrinsic before the lie arrived. Remains intrinsic after the lie is finished. You are enough. This is not encouragement. It is the accurate account of what is actually there in the person who carries what you carry. The enough was always the accurate account. The not enough was always the lie's installation. The lie is finished. The enough is what remains when the installation is removed. Write enough in the comments. Not as the answer to the lie's question about whether you are enough. The lie's question is the lie's product. The enough you write is not the answer to the question. It is the statement that the question is no longer operative. That the framework that required the question has ended. That the premise that produced the routing, the legitimation, the not enough as the baseline, that premise is what is finished. The enough is not the conclusion of the legitimation. The enough is the fact that precedes and follows and surrounds and exceeds the entire legitimation process from beginning to end. Write it. Let it be what it is. Enough. The lie ran longest in the place where lies run longest, in the relationship between what you are and what you allow yourself to show. The specific gap that the lie maintained, between the full thing and what was permitted to be expressed of the full thing in the specific encounters and relationships and spaces of the actual life, is the place where the lie was most continuously and most intimately present. The lie maintained this gap not through a single mechanism but through the ongoing coordination of several. The first was the expectation management it installed, the specific calibration of what you could expect from each encounter, each relationship, each space, that kept the expectation at a level corresponding to the translated, routed, legitimated version of what you carry rather than the actual thing. Lower expectation. Smaller reach. The expression calibrated to what the lower expectation suggested was appropriate rather than to what the original knows is appropriate. The calibrated expression became habitual. The habit became the default. The default became, over enough years, the way you think you express yourself, the thing that feels like your natural register when it is actually the register of the calibrated version rather than the original. The original has a different register. Larger. More direct. Less organized around the assessment of what each specific space can receive and more organized around the full expression of what is there to express. The original's register does not require the assessment as the precondition of the expression. The assessment follows the expression if it follows at all. The original expresses, the encounter receives what it can receive, the expression is not reduced in advance by the prediction of the reception's limits. This is the register the lie most consistently prevented from operating as the primary register. The register that would have produced the expression that the lie most needed to prevent. The expression from the original's register, given directly, in the full form, without the advanced calibration, that expression is what the lie was most organized against, because that expression is what changes the people who receive it in the most complete and most irreversible way. The lie is finished. The original's register is available. Not automatically, the habitual calibration does not dissolve immediately when the lie that installed it is named. The habit has momentum. It will continue to produce the calibrated expression in the encounters where the habit engages before the recognition of what is happening. But each encounter where the recognition arrives before the habit fully engages, each encounter where the original's register is available before the calibration runs, is an encounter in which the full expression is possible. In which the thing itself is given directly. In which the lie's gap between what is there and what is permitted to be expressed of what is there is, for that encounter, closed. Close the gap in each encounter where the recognition arrives in time. The habit will yield to the recognition across the encounters in which the recognition is practiced. The original's register will become more available. The calibration will become more recognizable as what it is, the lie's residual product, still running, not yet fully dissolved, but no longer invisible as the natural form of the expression. The full expression is the natural form. The calibration was the lie's installation. The lie is finished. The natural form is what is becoming available. There is one more thing the lie told you about yourself that needs to be named before the full account of the ending is complete. It is the lie about timing, the specific claim, embedded in the framework and delivered through every channel of the installation, that you were behind. That the timing of the expression, of the recognition, of the arrival of what the original was always building toward, was later than it should have been. That the years had taken more than their appropriate portion of the time available for the full expression. That you were navigating from a position of having lost time rather than from a position of having arrived at the exactly right moment. The lie about timing was the most insidious because it produced the specific quality of the forward movement that felt like catching up rather than like arriving. The quality of the urgency that comes not from the fullness of what is available now but from the deficit of what was not available before. The shadow of the late arrival on the present moment, the sense of the present being defined by what the past was unable to produce rather than by what it actually built. The timing was not late. Is not late. Has never been late. The original arrived here through the exact arc that the original was always on, the arc that produced the specific form of what you carry in the specific form it is now in, which required the full duration of the arc to produce. A different timing would have produced a different form. The form the original is in, the specific depth, the specific clarity, the specific completeness of what the years built, required this timing. Was produced by this timing. Is the product of this arc taken in its full duration. The present moment is not a moment of catching up, it is the moment of having arrived. The original is complete. The timing was the timing of the completion. The completion is here, now. In the moment it was always going to be here. Not late, not behind, arrived. What comes after the system's lies are finished is not a world without difficulty. The lies were not the source of all difficulty and the ending of the lies does not end all difficulty. What comes after is a world in which the specific category of difficulty that the lies were producing is no longer present in the same form. The difficulty of being the size you are in a world organized around your being smaller. The difficulty of the not enough that was the lie's permanent installation. The difficulty of the routing, of passing everything the original knew through the legitimation process before allowing it to be held as genuine. The difficulty of the translated giving, of the direct thing being organized around the system's requirements before being given, of the genuine expression being processed into the system's language before being expressed. These specific difficulties are finished along with the lies. They were the difficulties the lies produced. The lie is finished. The difficulties it was producing are finished with it. What remains is the difficulty of the actual, of what is genuinely difficult in the actual world for the specific person who carries what you carry in the specific form you carry it. This difficulty is different in kind from the lie's difficulty. It is the difficulty of the real meeting the real, of the genuine thing encountering genuine obstacles, of the actual reaching encountering actual resistance, not the coordinated management of the master game's framework but the ordinary friction of a world in which building and giving and expressing and contributing always involves some resistance, some difficulty. Some cost that is the actual cost of the actual thing rather than the inflated cost that the lies were adding to the actual cost. The actual cost is manageable, has always been manageable. The original is built to manage actual difficulty. The original's capacities are calibrated to the actual difficulty of the actual world. The original has never been tested against only the actual difficulty. Has been tested against the actual difficulty plus the lie's difficulty plus the cost of the routing plus the cost of the not enough plus the specific exhaustion of carrying the genuine thing in a world organized around the translated version. The lies are finished. The actual difficulty is what remains. And the original, which has been managing the actual difficulty plus all the lies' additional cost for the full arc of the years, the original is more than adequate to the actual difficulty alone. More than adequate, without the lies' additions to the cost. The original is operating in conditions that are generously less demanding than the conditions it has been operating in. Generously less demanding is not no demands. It is the specific quality of demand that produces real growth, real building, real contribution, the actual productive difficulty of a life that is doing what it is for rather than managing what the lie was adding to what it is for. The actual productive difficulty is what you are moving into. The life that is doing what it is for. The carrying without the lie's additional cost. The giving without the translation requirement. The expression without the routing. The enough without the installations not enough running in the background of the enough's every expression. This life is available now, has been available since the lie began its ending, is more available with each moment of the lie's continued ending, is fully available in the interior right now, in this moment, in the specific quality of the spaciousness that the naming of the lie's ending is producing as you receive the full account. Receive it fully. Let the spaciousness be what it is. Let the enough land without routing it for legitimation. Let the direct knowing be what it is without the intermediate step. Let the original be in the foreground, operating as the primary account, producing what the original produces when it is running clearly and fully and without the lie's interference. The system's lies are finished. The original is running. The life the lie was organized to prevent is what comes next. Click the video on your screen now. What comes next in this series is the first full account of what the original running in the foreground of a life that is no longer organized around the lie's requirements looks like in the texture of actual days. What changes in the morning. What changes in the encounters. What the world looks like when the filter is removed and the actual world is what is navigated. Click now. The lies are finished. The actual begins.